Hello, guys. Welcome back to the World Championship of Through the Ages 2023. And we are in the semi-finals, so to say, one round short to the finals. And we are here with some tough competition. There's Todd Silence in the first place, first of Dao in the second seat, Gengisip in the third seat, and I am in the last seat here in the first four-player game of the stage. And yeah, without further ado, let's just go right into the game. Todd Silence starts the game with Acropolis. It's an interesting wonder. It's unclear to me how valuable it is in 4-player, but he doesn't really have any other better options here. I think it's reasonable to take it. And first of Tao decides for Hippocrates, interestingly. There's a Hammurabi also, so that's an interesting decision. Gengisip goes for Hammurabi and a Richland, super good start for him, and I'm left with Aristotle and an Urban Growth. It's an okay start, I would say. It's not so good, but it could be worse. We see Todd Silence building a mine, doing a standard turn here, really. He had the Urban Growth in hand, right? Oh no, he took 2 yellows, but there's nothing to take here, and yeah. Could also decide to go for a leader, but he can do that next turn, I guess. Yeah, maybe I personally would have preferred to take a leader for 2, like Ashoka already in hand, or Alexander in hand, instead of 2 yellows. Taking yellow A cards just always feels wrong, kinda. If you can do anything else, that should, in most cases, be better, unless you have like concrete plans of what you want to do with them. Yeah, first of Tao elects Hippocrates, builds a mine, takes the Hanging Gardens and populates, so decides to prefer Hanging Gardens and populating over taking one of those wonders for 2. Also kind of interesting. Hanging Gardens is not a bad wonder per se, but it's susceptible to the ravages of time. And yeah, in general, I think all of these wonders are considered better. And all he loses is 1 civil action. So it's a close decision. Interesting that he goes for this. And Gengisip goes for Hammurabi, builds the mine with the Richland, takes another Richland. And in Hammurabi's case, it's a little different since he just has this extra action, and then I think I will always use this extra action. So 1 military action for 1 rock is, I think, a decent trade-off. And goes for the Roman roads, which is pretty nice with Hammurabi. And I can go for, I'm pretty happy actually that the pyramid stays in the row. It's pretty good with Aristotle. I just elect Aristotle already since I don't have a lot of, anything better to do. I could actually, and I did consider going for Gutenberg right away here. And maybe in hindsight, I would have been a little more happy with that. I think Gutenberg is kind of nice. But I thought it might be a little greedy to go for Gutenberg in the last spot of a 4-player game, where everyone is already set up in a way where they can get very aggressive, and swordsmen and knights are already coming down the row. I thought it might be a little greedy to go for Gutenberg. Since there we didn't do that yet, so that's a good moment for this. Take a look at the leaders and wonders. There are quite some aggressive leaders here, like Chishka, Barbarossa, Jeanne d'Arc in some sense. And Gutenberg shines a lot in one-on-one, where you can just build printing presses. So I don't know yet whether I can get alchemy. I mean, it's pretty likely to get 1 copy. There's 3, right? No, there is 3, yes. So, yeah, you don't want to play printing presses in the 4th seat of a 4-player game. So, yeah, I decided against it. It's a close call, I guess, but that's what I did. let's finish the look at the leaders and wonders. There is a mixed bag of everything in H2. There are some culture leaders like Darwin, Shakespeare, Gaudi. It's always a little difficult in 4-player. I think in 4-player, Darwin and Gaudi might be even better than Shakespeare in most of the case because they don't need a lot of setup to do something. But I think the general power level of Maria Theresa, for example, is a lot higher, and Napoleon can be quite good. Cook, depending on the situation, obviously, and Newton also a good pick in most situations. And in H3 we do have Gandhi, that's always noteworthy. Dietrich, always noteworthy, makes dramas quite decent in games always. And yeah, that's all I have to say here. We have an Ocean Liner that's always noteworthy. A Sue is always noteworthy. And yeah, let's see how the game develops. So, I decided against Gutenberg. I think it's a close call, as I said. Build the mine. I prefer starting with the mine, especially with the pyramids, even if I have an urban growth. Especially with pyramids, Aristotle. I like building the mine first. I draw 2 medieval armies. That's pretty nice. Means no one else has it. Cleopatra is elected by Todd Silence, and he goes for a philosophy and a stage of the wonder. So we see that he had a good plan for the urban growth already, and that means in the last turn his last civil action was just determined to take another yellow, so understandable. We see open borders agreement. That's always pretty sad to see. I think this pact is nonsense. I think this pact should get out of the game or changed in a drastic way. They just get basically a leader value, almost like Jeanne d'Arc, for free. So always sad to see that. First Tower does go for Gutenberg. That is very understandable in his situation, because he had Hippocrates do some work already. He can now decide whether he wants a second yellow cube. I think that's worth it to wait one time, but you could also decide to just go for it, and he does that. Build the philosophy, take swordsman, and take a breakthrough. Looks super decent. Genghis goes for knights on one, not very surprisingly, takes a patriotism and builds 3 stages of the wonder. He's a little unlucky in the sense that there has not a single event. There were no events played, so he didn't get a rock. With any rock he could finish the wonder. Like this, he has to take the patriotism one. It's not the end of the world, just a little unlucky in my opinion that no one seeded and he didn't get the rock. And yeah, as I mentioned, there's a Jeanne d'Arc in the game, not a Jeanne d'Arc, Marlene Dietrich in the game. So I value drama quite high, and it's on 1 civil action. And with Aristotle, I get a science for taking that. Then there's masonry for 2. And I will still build the pyramids and possibly some drama in the future. So I thought it is quite some value. So I decided to go for that. And we see Chichka on 2, but I decided against taking him because I don't know yet whether I can get knights or not, and I only have knights tactics. And I see one very strong knight tactic taken away from the opponents already, and there's just other good leaders. I will get any of those in the next turn. I can still decide for Chichka if I see that I have a chance on taking knights, so that was not a priority. So in hindsight, I'm not quite certain with this masonry. It feels okay now from this perspective to do that. I can use it on the pyramid still. There's some other interesting one. Masonry is generally just a strong card, and taking it for 1 cent discount basically with Aristotle should be always okay. But it was 2 civil actions here. So, yeah, not too certain. Also, I prefer building the pyramids before this philosophy, just because Aristotle gives me some science anyway, so I don't lose a lot of science. It's actually even, possibly, and I just have an extra civil action. So, yeah, I think that's, yeah, in hindsight, I'm not certain about the masonry too much. Might be better to just take the alchemy. Alchemy is a pretty good technology. In 4-player especially, I think. So, yeah, unclear. Todd Silence goes for Acropolis, finishes the Acropolis, takes Nostradamus for 2. So, that's a pretty good leader. Takes the alchemy. And that's his turn. Very relatable. We see First of Tao seeding, opening the development of settlement, and starts just to build the hanging gardens. Yangesip reveals development of planning, and there's crafts, civil life, and religion. He chooses religion. Finishes the wonder, takes Chishka, builds a farm, which is always quite good with Chishka. Does not select Chishka yet. And yeah, he didn't have a lot of draws. He has 1 card in hand. I personally don't like taking Chishka without a tactic. It might be a tactic, but it's pretty unlikely. And yeah. So basically what that means, if someone takes Chishka, then the other guys should just never play a tactic. And especially if this happens. So let's see what happens in this regard. I also take the development of religion. I develop the masonry, finish the pyramids, take John Dark. I think it's pretty reasonable in a 4-player game. It's a good leader, especially after the religion has been revealed. I even elect her. I think that is quite close, a quite close call. And I'm not entirely certain if that's correct. It's the information of seeing the next event. 1 more card draw, 1 culture, versus possibly some science. Yeah, I'm actually really not certain if that's a correct choice. And here we see us taking Castle, and I think that is a correct choice. Castle is a super good wonder. I think it's one of the S-tier wonders of the game, and this should be definitely correct. As I said, not certain about swapping. I could still get 1 or 2 signs from Aristotle, and I think that's just better. Minor misplay here, in my opinion. One reason I just remembered is valuing the draws is that there's a Suez in the game. Yeah. So I would like to draw some colonization cards or colonies myself. And I think that was the reason why I decided for this. Just the chance on getting some colonization cards. But if that's worth it, whether that's worth it to spend 1 or 2, possibly 3 signs on for that, not certain. Todd Silence does go for cartography for 2 civil actions and elects Nostradamus, builds another lab. That's always pretty neat and a super good option with the Acropolis, and increases population. And everything looks pretty good here. First of Tao reveals the development of science. It also takes religion, by the way, and Todd Silence did not take the religion, actually. Did he not have the option? He should have had the option. No, he did not have the option. So he had to take development of civil life. He populated with that, and in his turn, there's 2 left. So that means, by conclusion, he had no free population. First of all, develops the knights and plays a heavy cav tactic. I mean, that's one of the tactics that Chichka doesn't benefit from, so I think there's no problem with that. Playing that tactic should always be reasonable, even against the Chichka. And takes 2 very valuable cards here for 1 civil action each. Looks very good. The only problem, quotation marks, is that he did not get an alchemy with his Gutenberg, and that's kind of sad. If there was an alchemy here somewhere, that would be super good for him. So let's see how that works out for him in the future. Ngisip does go for the knight, populates a bunch, builds a lab, does nothing else. Yeah. And I go for the lab finally. Populate. So if I had Aristotle now, to be fair, there would be not a lot to take for me. I could take knights for 2, or possibly Code of Law for 3 or something. Yeah, so I possibly miss out on 1 science there, and then I would have to decide again, do I change the leader or not? And yeah, so the decision is quite, I don't know. 1 turn later, I'm neutral on whether it's correct or not to swap out the leader. What do you guys think? I'm really still not certain. I do take the knights here, so that would be the 1 science. And a Richland. Another tactic. Phalanx. Development of trade routes revealed here. Oh, by the way, yeah, that's something I saw with Jeanne d'Arc, and I decided not to seed for it. I didn't see how it improved my turn, I guess. So I will try to think about saying that now, what I see, what I have seen with Jeanne d'Arc, because she will be in play for quite some while. Todd Silence goes for Code of Law, and cartography does have a lot of science saved up, and yeah, this looks super good. Does get an alchemy. He had the alchemy already. Yeah, he had the alchemy already. So first of Tao, there's still no alchemy inside. Curious whether he takes this printing press with this free action. There's a development of warrior, of warfare, and he takes the free warrior, finishes Hanging Gardens, has to populate to get rid of corruption, builds a knight, does take the printing press and a cultural heritage with this extra, or with this last civil action, and that's a little interesting. He could go for irrigation. It's there on 1, but prefers the science. Wants to be set up to go for an H2 government. I think that's the main reason for this cultural heritage. Genghis goes for monarchy revolution. Always a super nice thing to do, especially with Hammurabi, since he will still be able to fix corruption issues. Populates, builds a knight, builds another knight. Still no swap to Chichka, and still very few cards drawn so far. So basically he should have a Chichka without a tactic. I go for iron on 1. I do see the vast territory on top, actually. And for me, that means I know that I can't win it, or it's very unlikely. I would have to bid 2 warriors and 1, then I'm on 3, and Todd Science is on 3 with 1 warrior already, and he can just build 2 warriors. So yeah, it's certain that I can't win it. A little sad that I didn't draw more defense cards, colonization cards. And not seeding has just the benefit that I have some extra time to develop economy. It's pretty good iron timing in my opinion. Yeah, it's just someone has to bid for the colony, and then it's maximum 2 events that could be strength events, and I'm willing to take that risk since this is just a super neat turn going for iron now here. And I think it's a reasonable risk evaluation here to not go for the knights at this point. Since if I go for the knights, build the knight, and it has the downside of having to show a tactic if I wanted to get strongest to Genghis, who desperately needs a tactic. I think that would be not a good idea. So just going for iron is pretty good here. Draw even another tactic. We see Todd Silence interestingly not seeding, so possibly he doesn't have an event. Takes, what did it, he already built? No, he still could take this free warrior. All the 3 warriors have been built by him, so the 4th is a free warrior. He does take bread and circuses, always a reasonable card. There's no Pierre in the game, but still running into rebellion is kind of bad, and he did not get the free religion, so he can just go for this. Looks super reasonable. He even gets strongest with that. Takes an urban growth as his last civil action. First of the hour decides to seed and does reveal the vast territory, and we see Todd Silence winning it with his cartography. Is willing to go up to 6, and he even has drawn 2 defense cards and is willing to build 2 warriors. It's a super good thing for him. He's kind of safe with his Nostradamus, and the vast territory is yeah, big game changer for a civilization. So that's super good for him. Well played with the cartography. I definitely would also have taken the cartography in this game if it went down the row, but it didn't. Or I'm not entirely certain if I had the opportunity to take it for 2. I think it was on 3 on this one turn because he did take it for 2. Not 100% certain how it was, but at that time it just wasn't a good option for me. And we see First of the Hour going for the 3rd knight. Fulfilling. He has 5 people in military already, 5 population, and he does fulfill his heavy cap, so he goes to 12 strengths. Finally, he's able to get an alchemy, so his Gutenberg will start to be crazy value from now on. And this looks good. Looks super good with the heavy cap. We see Genghis populating, takes theology for 2, interestingly. Yeah, it's probably the better happy face solution if you have a free religion already. And is also willing to go for that. He's afraid of a rebellion, basically. Plays patriotism, builds knights, and also goes for the heavy cav. So yeah, as I said, it's a tactic that doesn't benefit Chishka too much. Might still be worth a consideration not playing it from First of the Hour, but I think I would also have played that. That's one of the tactics that you are willing to see to bring into play against the Chishka. And now we have 2 maniacs with 12 strength, and I have to see what I do about it. I am willing to seed the rats into the game and reveal the pestilence. I did see the pestilence. I have a free population, and I think I am not going for irrigation anytime soon, and just seeding rats is reasonable. Can hurt the others more than me, or at least equally, something like that. And as I said, we had the free population here, so I think that's a reasonable decision to trigger the pestilence. We can also take a quickly look. It does destroy something of every single opponent, so it was super nice to see this pestilence, and there's some Jeanne d'Arc value here already. I can, or I have to go for knights here to be able to defend against the maniacs. Can still upgrade to another iron. There's nothing on 1 really that I want or need, so I take the theology for 2 also. It has some extra value with Jeanne d'Arc, and I'm willing to spend these 2 civil actions. Yeah, especially since, as I said, there's not really a benefit of, I don't know, taking Brighton Circus and having a civil action left that I can do nothing with. And yeah, in order to be able to defend, I now have to play a tactic. So Genghis might go for that in the future, but I'm still willing to play that. I think I have to play that. So there might just be 2 aggressions coming otherwise, and that's not a good option. And that's the turn. I am actually quite thankful to even draw another defense card. I think it's quite unlikely that I'm getting aggressed here. If First of Tower decides to aggress me, he's running into the risk that it's very likely that I can defend, but that Genghis gets a free path for an aggression. Is a chance, so I think it's pretty unlikely that he tries that, especially if he has anything other to do. So any event that he wants to see it anyway. So, but with this colonization card, with this defense card, it means that I can possibly defend even 2 aggressions. H2 is revealed and revealed. H2 is beginning now, and inhabited territory is revealed, and Todd Silence does get a lot of more value even from his cartography, wins the next colony, and that's a little surprising. I could not bid on this, since I'm here in the last position. I would just eat 2 aggressions. It's not worth it to bid for this inhabited territory. It's a little unlucky that it's revealed at this moment, because it's still a pretty important technology territory. But the fact that they both are willing to bid so few, especially First of Tao, I think it's worth at least a knight in the warrior. And he's bidding 2. I mean, it doesn't make a difference whether he bids 2 or 3, because Todd Science always bids 3. But yeah, Genghis not having a lot of colonization cards is pretty likely, since he played Hammurabi all H1. But First of Tao having none, it's kind of unlikely. And yeah, it's a little surprising that he's not willing to bid more here. And that means super valuable territory even for Todd Silence. It has obviously special synergies with his wonder. He needs a lot of people in this area, in the urban building area, to gain the maximum value from the Acropolis. So his game looks super good here. And he decides to go for the alchemy, upgrade it with an urban growth, populate, build a warrior, go up to 8 strength, which is kind of interesting. He basically says I can defend 2 aggressions, possibly. Then again, there's the same metagame reason that First of Tao might not want to aggress Todd Silence, although here is the case where it might still even be worth it, kinda, because Todd Silence is so far ahead here. And making, I mean, so far ahead, it's a little much to say maybe, but the game is looking really good for him. And then you might consider, okay, I have the chance that the aggression goes through. He already showed 2 defense cards. Or in the worst case, Genghis gets an aggression on him, but that might still be okay. So if I had an aggression in First of Tao's place, I would possibly consider to play it here. What do we see? We see First of Tao seeding and rebuilding new deposits. I'm pretty happy with that. I still have a wonder to build. So that's a super good event for me. And uses Gutenberg, takes irons pretty late, but it's not too late, I think. Still a good iron timing here. Can upgrade twice and makes use of Gutenberg. So for him, it also looks super decent. Oh, by the way, I just saw. Yeah, this pact just makes no sense. I think he doesn't aggress him because it would end the pact. This pact makes no sense. He would be certain to win an aggression against. Almost certain. It would be super likely to win an aggression here in this situation, and he doesn't do it because this pact. The downside of the pact should actually be that someone is incentivized to play aggressions against you, but it's the contrary is the case. You don't want to end the pact. The pact should not end. Does it end? It does end, right? If you attack someone. If attacks on the attacker. Oh, no, it doesn't end. So, okay. I was wrong. Everything I said was bullshit. I don't understand why he doesn't try it. But still, this +2 strength, it should be +5 or something. And then the pact would possibly be okay. Well, make it +3. Or just remove it from the game, please. Thank you. Yeah, still looks super good for first of DAO. Gutenberg is doing a lot of work. We see another good event for me being revealed. 2 signs and a rock, so I get a little more than my opponents with this knowledge of the ancients. And Gangsip just goes for Ocean Liner here. That's pretty good. I think I would do exactly the same. This wonder is bonkers that early on. There is a Maria Theresa for some extra value or synergy in the game, and just decides to spend his entire turn for this, and I would do the same. That means corruption, I guess. He can build one stage. It doesn't necessarily mean corruption. He could do something here with a warrior into knight, but I don't think that's reasonable. Does he do that? No. Corruption looks better. He can still finish the wonder exactly, right? It's for some reason, yeah, it is that cheap. It has been one of the strongest wonders before the expansion, and then they decided, oh, it needs a yellow cube and to be cheaper. What? What am I missing here? Yeah, this wonder is super good, and he can just go for it next turn. I am willing to see it. I do see the Reign of Terror on top, and I did see it a foray here. So foray, not the best event, but as we see after the turn, I will have 11 strength, I think. And yeah, first of all, it means I'm not losing the Reign of Terror if I see this foray. And there are some chances to even win the foray. They are not that big, but yeah, losing a population looks super bad here, so I'm willing to cede the foray. And the 11 strength we see is just with the finishing the wonder, and I have to go for the theology to fix uprising. So yeah, I would go to exactly 11. It might happen that I don't lose the Reign of Terror if Todd Silence wants to seed now, but it could just happen that he doesn't seed, gets stronger than 11 with his extra strength, and then looks pretty bad for me. So I'm willing to play the foray. And my last 2 civil actions are taking Alchemy and Frugality. So there would have been an option to take Rifleman. Problem with the Rifleman is I don't have science for Rifleman. My biggest problem in this game is I don't have science. And now we can rewind a little and look at this Masonry decision. And maybe it's now evident that it would have been a little better to go for Alchemy. Or at the point where I went for Iron, maybe there was a chance to do something else. Because this is sadly very bad. To go into H2 without any science. I mean, generally my civilization looks okay, I think. But I would like to have better science income. If I take Rifleman now, what do I do? Develop it in 2 turns and then still be on +2 science? I don't think it's a super good option. So I think Alchemy, I can understand why I do that. I can upgrade this 2 times in the next turn. And the last turn is, last civil action is on Frugality. I hope it will have some value in the future. The Urban Growth, there's 2 reasons against it. The only problem I don't have is rocks. And it reveals more cards, and I possibly don't want that. Yeah, so I decided to go for this. It's understandable. Rifleman is an important tech, I understand that, but I think I have good reasons not to go for that. Yeah, after having seen this draw, maybe I would change my opinion on that. But still, I think it's unplayable to take Rifleman and develop it in 2 turns. I would still need to, yeah, that's another reason. I see a scientific method already that I cannot take now. And I think there's only 2 copies of that. And if I don't take Alchemy and both scientific methods are taken away, I have no science solution. There's no Harvard College here, so I will have no science solution and it will be an unplayable game. So I have to take Alchemy, in my opinion. Yeah. Kinda sad. I lack 1 civil action to take Rifleman and Alchemy. That would have been super good. Did I do something unnecessary? Can I possibly not finish the wonder? So I needed to go for Theology. That was 2 civil actions, and then, yeah, building the wonder looks correct. But maybe it's not. Maybe Rifleman not so important that I skip it once and take Rifleman. Take Corruption, miss on 2 culture income, miss on the slim chance of being able to win a foray next turn if they don't get stronger. Yeah, I think I would always do this turn. But the Riflemen do look important. Thought Silence does not seed and gets Rifleman for 1. Does develop them at once. He has a good science income here and builds 2 of them. So right now I am the weakest. And there's reds. Could have been a better timing, I guess, but that's what happened here. Gutenberg doing his work. Conmon on 2 looks super good. And selective breeding. Very good cards for him. Very good row for him here. We see Genghis succeeding a wealthy territory, and he's willing to bid 4. Totsan is not willing to bid more than possibly 2 warriors, or he's not willing to bid a Rifleman, that's evident. That would be 5. And yeah, that's possibly one warrior and the colonization card. But Gangsip is winning that with an H2 colonization card. That's also super good for him, especially with the Ocean Liner. I think with this setup, the wealthy territory is more valuable than a vast territory in a vacuum. Like the wealthy territory into only +3 resource production with an Ocean Liner, ultra valuable. So yeah, maybe it's a little interesting that Todd Science wasn't willing to bid a little more, because this territory is just bonkers good now for Genghis. And I could have also thought about bidding more. I was not willing to do that since, yeah, Rocks is the only problem I don't have, and I would have to bid population. I cannot afford to lose a population. I don't know where I take it. If I would win that, what would I do? Uh, get rid of the philosophy? No, I couldn't bid on that, sadly. I could have bid on the vast territory now, or any yellow cube territory, but not on a wealthy. And this wealthy territory is a total game changer for Genghis. So I would have wished for Todd Silence to bid more, I think. Would still be good. I think it's still worth a rifleman. Even if it's only 6 rocks and he has to spend 5. I think it might be worth it, especially in this comparison. Yeah. Genghis not getting it in this situation. So he does go for another knight, interestingly, to get strongest. Yeah, understandable. Takes scientific method and an efficient upgrade. Thinks the science income is more important than taking coal here, and I think I do agree. This looks super good. I am willing to cede. I did see the uncertain borders, and I played, I think, emigration. Yeah, I played emigration. And yeah, I'm not seeing a way to get stronger, so I'm happy to dodge that. Yeah, I just literally dodged that since it's here. In any other case, I would possibly lose that. It would not be the end of the world in this situation, but it would be bad. It's always pretty bad to lose in uncertain borders. And this yellow cube for Genghis, it's not too important. He has an ocean liner. Yeah, that's how strong this wonder is. All of a sudden, all this yellow cube things, they are almost meaningless. This yellow cube doesn't mean too much. So we have this bug. I don't know if it goes away at some point. I want to refill my coffee anyway. It goes away at some point. And here I am going for the alchemy. Take breakthrough. Science is super important, and selective breeding. And a little interesting actually that I'm willing to pay 2 civil actions for a breakthrough instead of upgrading this. Not too certain about that, honestly. Not too certain about that. My last selection would be a little awkward, taking another frugality in hand. And the breakthrough, maybe it's understandable, the decision. It's about this. The selective breeding is the next thing I develop with very, very high certainty. And it doesn't make a difference whether I'm on +3 or +4 for the selective breeding. And I will be able to develop it with a breakthrough. And frugality urban growth are pretty awkward cards to have in hand. So I understand the decision of taking breakthrough instead of upgrading it once more. I think it's correct. Can still upgrade next turn. And in the sum, I have more science, which is my bottleneck, along with food, but can possibly or have a clear plan on how to solve these issues in the near future. I draw some events. Independence Declaration, I think it's pretty cool to see, to have drawn, since I can just seal it without any risk. That's possibly what I will do. Todd Silence does reveal the foray. Yeah. The foray wouldn't have done too much for me anyway, and I think it was better to not lose uncertain borders than to possibly win the foray in that one situation last turn. So this is what it is. Was very unlikely for me to win that, and I did it again, and we have to wait. First of Tau and Genghis get the resources from the foray. And Todd Science decides to go for Darwin here, which is super understandable. Very valuable leader. Good synergy with the Acropolis. Already gives 3 science per turn, culture per turn, some civil actions. That's what I meant, comparing it to Shakespeare. You don't need any setup for Darwin to do good work already. Like even 2 philosophies, which you always have. Give 2 culture per turn and some civil actions. That's a good leader. And here it's even better. 3 culture per turn, some civil actions, and he doesn't need Nostradamus anymore. He has done his work. Is willing to be weakest here, but we have seen some weakest events already. So there's Reign of Terror is out. Uncertain Borders is out. He might have seen, I mean, he does have a lot of information with Nostradamus of what events are in. So he does know whether or not it's a bad thing to stay or to be weakest here. And yeah, Darwin already gives 2 civil actions here by taking strategy and Conmon, super good cards, and even 3 civil actions by also taking Cavalryman. So everything looks pretty good for him. Only, yeah, food income is a problem. I often see people being willing to destroy this farm, and it's possibly correct, but at some point he obviously has to rebuild it. And yeah, those incomes here, they are problematic somewhat. He can go for common next turn, so he will have a lot of civil actions to take cards, but he's reliant on those cards to be there. And yeah, overall, it looks super good. Acropolis looks good here with the common, giving 4 signs already. And the Open Borders is still doing its work. Call to Arms revealed, Todd Silence is the weakest. He did know that it is in, or very likely know that it's in. So, kind of interesting that he's willing to take that. I think he had an option to be strongest even. I'm not entirely certain. And Fist of Dauer goes for the revolution and can get rid of corruption with Gutenberg. Gotta love it, Gutenberg. So this, super good. Very nice turn. Genghis seeds and revealed Scientific Breakthrough, which is quite nice for me as well, since I can go for selective breeding 1 turn earlier, but all the others get more, yeah, I think more value than me even. And we see Conquistadores being revealed. Interestingly, it's a little better than the Heavy Cav. And does go for Maria Teresa and possibly Rifleman, right? Can go for Justice System with and take Rifleman. Doesn't have to build one. He's willing to stay weakest just to get the resources from Maria Teresa next turn, which is a nice play, I think. So yeah, this also looks super good, and we can we are already mid H2, and we can take a look on how the game looks. And I think honestly there were 1 or 2 close decisions on my side, but even now I think I played a very reasonable game so far, and I think I'm super far behind. I think it has a lot to do with I mean, with how the game row develops over time. There's a lot of randomness, but also player position. I think being seated in fourth position, your chances of winning the game per se is a lot lower than in the first three positions. And I think, I mean, I don't know how to solve this issue, but in this tournament, it's a lot better to be in three player, seated in 2-player, 3-player in the 2 4-player games than in 1-player, 4-player. It's, in my intuition, it's a lot better, and I'm pretty sure statistics would show that. Yeah, basically, I feel like I already lost the game. It's a little over exaggerated now, but I feel like I'm super behind, and there's literally nothing I would have done differently. Yeah, but it also has a lot to do with this senseless pact. It is so much value for them. I do understand that I'm a little salty right now, but I am. This pact makes no sense, especially this pact. But yeah, I exaggerated a little. It's not like I already lost the game, but I feel like their civilizations are looking a lot better than mine. But it's still playable, so we can go for, first of all, we see this historic territory. No one's even willing to bid for that. I wasn't willing. I still have this food issue, population issue. Todd Silence is willing to send a warrior, and I think that's understandable. I take the cannon in hand and go for selective breeding. And yeah, the rev idea, I prefer the rev idea over upgrading those. Rev idea basically means I can go for Republic if it drops. And thus, I think it's very understandable. I think it's very understandable to take the rev idea here instead of upgrading. We see Todd Sirens developing Conmon for 8 signs, super valuable. It does build a cavalryman with his entire rock count. So doesn't want to be weakest. I don't know if he's too afraid, maybe, since, as I said, we have already seen a lot of weakest events. Okay, I mean, there will be H2 coming. Yeah, 2 H2 events coming, and he does have some information about those, so he can evaluate better whether it's worth it. But yeah, it's at some point it would be nice to see iron irrigation developed, because it will be a problem. This will be a problem at some point. Does go for the phalanx, is strongest by far now, takes reserves, takes EG. Yeah, don't know how good EG is. There can be Suis still. So yeah, that's a reasonable way to fix possibly both issues here. Selective breeding revealed. Developed. Upgrades twice. Goes for navigation. Spends his entire science for the navigation, but understandable. There might still be good colonies coming. Takes breakthrough, takes frugality. I do value this architecture very highly. And I would possibly have taken architecture over frugality, but maybe a close call. Gangsip goes for the rifleman, does have the extra rocks from Maria Teresa. Can also play wave if he wants to. He does. So super much value generated here in this turn, and can still go for 2 scientific method upgrades if he wants to, but he goes for 1 and takes the architecture in hand and patriotism. Yeah. Looks super good for Genghis-Sip. I offer the promise of military protection. I basically don't have a good way to get stronger at all. And this basically means he will prefer to attack someone else. It is costly, the pack, but I think it would be more costly to just get aggressed now. And I can possibly defend with the castle. And what am I actually doing here? Developing cannon? What's the plan with that? I upgrade the farm, I upgrade the alchemy, I take efficient upgrade. There's sadly no cards here that I can use in any way. Take organized religion. Yeah. Might need that in the future. I don't know. What would be alternatives here? I don't think I have good turns here. And developing the cannon was... I could have also just played Rev idea, right? I'm not entirely certain if that was needed. Yeah. That looks a little weird, developing cannon instead of just playing Rev idea. Maybe the reason... Wait, I know now. That's why it looks so weird. I had some information that I forgot about, and I see the Dark Ages here. So that's why I developed cannon. We see Dark Ages here on top, and I'm able to almost dodge it entirely with developing the cannon. So that's that. We found the reason. And I see that Independence Declaration. I forgot to mention it. I mentioned it before. It's will be good to put in the game because I will not lose a colony when I don't have a colony. Third science does seeds, reveals the Dark Ages. Everyone loses one science. Everyone is well prepared for that. And I could not go even lower with my science, so I had to lose that science. And he decides to go for the iron. Suez Canal sadly didn't drop yet for him. So he decides to still go for iron, takes selective breeding, it's a lot better than irrigation, and takes the cannon. Plays reserves to gain some rocks. First of Dow plays frugality, takes Newton, takes cannon. It could be interesting to still just take a journalism as a win condition with it's only one civil action, gives some culture. He decides to play printing press instead. Not entirely certain whether he needs this bread and circus. Yeah, it prepares for happiness events. Age will end. There might be an emigration coming. I did see that at some point. Or the civil unrest, and he might get hit by that. So he decides to go for this. Spends the warrior. Builds even one more. Okay, that one I don't understand. Might be a prosperity. Okay, but is it worth it just not to build this printing press right now? Questionable. Questionable. There's no Pierre, so... Yeah, very questionable in my opinion. To go for the second bread and circus. Is it a strength thing? Is it enabling him to defend? But he just disbanded the warrior. That would be super pointless. Yeah, don't understand it. War over territory on Todd Silence. Prefers to go on him. I mean, I did offer the pact, and I might have been the victim of that war, but I do have a castle, so pact might not be the only reason. And the other possible reason is that Todd Silence is just a way better position than I am. So, yeah, decides to go to war with Todd Silence. He does take the Suez Canal for almost his entire turn. That means, and now we are in a little lucky territory in my opinion. He didn't have excessive draws, and it means he did draw a good enough colony to spend his entire turn on a Suez Canal. And even gets rid of corruption by building one stage, but he can still, could have got rid of corruption also differently. So I decided to seed Iconoclasm. Yeah, I had the Iconoclasm. I did see Emigration. And here's the thing, if I don't reveal it now, I will be hit by that. Unless I build a theology now or upgrade the organized religion. So I was willing to play the Iconoclasm. I was also thinking they all have good leaders. And there might be some border cases where I don't even lose my H2 leader until this Iconoclasm is revealed. I don't have good options with leaders anymore anyway. So Gaudi, I think, is a little greedy. And there's Napoleon coming. It will be a decent option. And I think at this point, I'm hoping that I can play Napoleon after the Iconoclasm. Let's see how that turns out. I can finally play this Frugality, and that enables me to populate twice now. And I know that Emigration is gone, so I don't have to build a theology now. Can do it later or even decide to go for an organized religion. And with my last civil actions, I just take the urban growth. I know that I will have to build something in this area here, or possibly even go for movies with Dietrich or something. I need some win condition. So I think, yeah, just taking this urban growth. It's actually a safe play. I don't take urban growth. I don't go for drama. And the republics are super late. I can hope to see an H3 government. And even if I don't, it's pretty likely that I will still have access to one republic next turn. Yeah, kind of rough, this game. Kind of rough. Not certain about this urban growth, but I think it's okay. Spend the civil actions if I know that I would possibly have to go for organized religion or this theology. And we see terrorism revealed. So Gangsip set up for terrorism. Yeah, it's quite close. But also not in danger that he would not win the event, so to say. So well played. Terrorism, it's an event that I don't like. It's too impactful for the game, in my opinion. We see Todd Silence going for a classical army, so he gets one of the copies of Air Forces, which is also always super important. Takes Opera in hand. And yeah, we see he kind of had to disband the philosophy. That does hurt. That does hurt. He still loses the war by 1 strength. That also hurts. And as we see, not having upgraded this iron earlier also hurts, because he just has resource issues. And possibly there was a chance to do that earlier. That one time where he went for a cavalryman, I'm not certain if he had to do that. But as I said, I'm not certain. What's it called? Crime Wave has been revealed. First of the hour, and I lose 3 culture and a blue token. And we see First of the hour going for mobile artillery. Very nice tactic to draw when you have a heavy calf. So he is the strongest now. And Gengisip does not seed. Interestingly, he does not have an event apparently. And he goes for Suez Canal and colonizes the Vast 2. Yeah, wow. Very good. Very good for him. And plays Patriotism, builds another Rifleman. So this looks super. Yeah, he has a lot of strength potential. He doesn't have the best tactic, but we have seen a classical army revealed, so he can copy it in the future. He has enough science to go for military theory or possibly even fundamentalism or communism, so I don't think MA will be a huge problem. And he's set up to be very aggressive. And what is that pack? Oh yeah. I'm pretty happy to offer that pack to him. Can take Pro Sports, which is a super aggressive happiness solution in long term. Sadly, I don't see an H3 government, and here I think I have no option but to go for the Republic. I need civil actions, and there's Napoleon, and he gives me short term the third military action. Now, of course, I'm super sad to have that iconoclasm in, but as we see, it was no option to not reveal the emigration, and if I'm happy, it's not in the front, right? If it's somewhat in the back, I can possibly, don't know, go for a revolution, for a communism revolution, fundamentalism revolution, or get one of the three rev ideas to get a military theory out, and then possibly go for Dietrich and one or two movies as my win condition. So that's, I think, roughly the road that I see to still have a chance in the game. Possibly get a multimedia out somehow or computer to fix my science income. Yeah, one alchemy was gone due to the terrorism. As I said, very impactful. But I should be able to rebuild that now. So I'm still on +4. It would be, yeah, it would probably not be +6. I would love to get the third person here, but I have population issues still. At least this means I can defend anything here. I have 3 defense cards in hand, so it looks playable. I might have a shot, possibly not on winning the game, but I might have a shot at second place or third place. Looks reasonable. So can still go for this urban growth. I disband the warrior and build the cannon. Why do I do that? Ah yeah, I know. Because of this tactic. I have basically not a good tactic right now, and this still defends, and I can copy the tactic next turn. So I think that's a good decision to do here. Use the military actions wisely. And I draw a peace treaty, which I actually am quite happy about. And we will see how that works out. Todd Silent Seeds reveals popularization of science. That's more or less meaningless. Gets efficient upgrade. And interestingly goes for the Red Cross. And I think, yeah, honestly, I think that's a huge blunder. This doesn't make any sense in my opinion. It is a huge investment of civil actions. And these, I mean, okay, takes those for 2. But shouldn't he always be able to do a lot more reasonable things than taking this wonder in hand, which just enables the other people to build uh, stages? And also, it's not like he has a lot of food. Doesn't he need the food to populate? I mean, I don't know. What's your opinion? I think it's a mistake. This Red Cross is often, I see people take, I think, yeah, Red Cross, I don't. Um, the Red Cross shines when you get it towards the end of the game in a situation where you wouldn't have anything better to do with those civil actions anyway, and then you have just some spare food and you take and build it or almost build it at once, and then this wonder is bonkers. But this is a stage where you still want to develop economy, and now you spend civil actions on not developing economy. I think that has to be wrong in most cases. Even I think sometimes when you can, if he could take and build it now for his entire turn, that would be like 40 culture. But I don't know, building a journalism is also something like 30 culture, including all this production and the science that you get and so on. And you get the point. I think spending an entire turn for culture so early in the game should be incorrect. He did not spend his entire turn now, but I'm sure if we look very closely, he would find more reasonable things to do than taking that. First of DAO seats and the autonomous territories revealed. Someone seeded that. Interestingly, possibly after the Suez was taken. And first of DAO is able to win that. I was willing to bid 7. Maybe I could consider even bidding more, but yeah, that was what I bid. And first of DAO gets to 7 is not that high of a number, and he only has to send 1 knight, so that's super good for him. Autonomous is bonkers strong, and builds 1 stage of the Red Cross, builds a cannon, and a knight is on 34 strength and gets another copy of Air Forces. So the Air Force roulette is rolling, and it's not looking too good from my side. Genghis does seed, and the Iconoclasm is revealed. Sadly, it's pretty early in the game. He gets the 3rd Air Forces, so I'm not getting Air Forces. And someone has to explain to me how it makes sense that there are only 3 copies that decides game single-handedly. So everyone took Air Forces for the maximum amount of civil actions, obviously, and one guy doesn't get them. So how does that make sense? I don't think anyone has a good answer on that. I don't think Vlada has a good answer on that, actually. But maybe you could give that to us. Anyway, this looks pretty grim now, and as I said, I was happy to have drawn the peace strategy, and I was offering to first of DAO. And I think there are a lot of good reasons to offer it to him and for him to accept it. And I will elaborate that on his turn. Sadly, he doesn't. I take Rev Idea for 3. At least I have some civil actions here. That's a super important card. I can take Dietrich, and I need some win conditions, so I get movies and elect Dietrich and copy. I still take Pro Sports. Yeah, I don't think I have anything better to do with my last civil action. I could possibly populate, and yeah, I don't know what that does. Ah, yeah, not populating does something. It gives me 1 more food. So I can still copy the tactic, and that means I can defend, actually. I have a castle. I can defend aggressions. Losing a red cube really hurt, obviously. But, oh no, I did not get an extra food by not populating, so maybe Pro Sports was take it away from someone, or have that option for myself actually. If someone, yeah, I think I like the option of having some some place to create strength without military actions. So that's why Pro Sports. Todd silence, Seed's independence declaration is revealed, and he does lose a colony, but as we remember, he did win historic, so it's not that impactful. He can build one stage of his wonder, which is again just his entire science, his entire food. So yes, Mandela here builds another Breton circus, but somehow he does not want to get more science income. He had such a good situation, and I think there were some pretty weak turns here. And here we see something that I wasn't too happy about, and now I have to officially rant a little. I don't understand his decision. Also, not okay. Let's start with not accepting the pact is maybe relatable, but my reasoning was the following, and it includes not understanding why he aggresses me at all. I think it's a huge blunder, because he knows that I can defend. I could even defend with one defense card and sacrificing a cannon. He knows I can defend. He just makes way for Genghis to aggress me for free. For certain. And in what world does that make sense? Does he just say, okay, Genghis won anyway, and I want to be third place? Is that what happens here? If that's his reasoning, I'm not certain why, because he still has options to win the game, in my opinion. His situation is super reasonable to go for first place. And this move 100% means he's not trying to go for first place. Or what am I missing? So yeah, not understandable. That's what I also thought. It's actually a pretty reasonable chance to offer the peace treaty to him, and that there's a good chance that it's accepted. Because it cannot make sense for him to aggress me if he is trying to go for first place. But he did, and that seals the deal for my game, obviously, and also it seals the deal for Genghis winning the game, obviously. And yeah, the rest of the game, I will not. I will skip through it a little because this is GG. We know that Genghis won, and we know that I lost. And now it's between those two who gets second and who gets third, in my opinion. So maybe one last sentence. In our live play group, I know for 100% fact that I wouldn't get aggressed here for metagame reasons. And I'm very surprised that this happened. But maybe I'm missing something, so you can write that in the comments. Kind of frustrated by that, actually. Kind of frustrated by that, as you can hear in my voice. But nothing we can change. And as I said, I'm skipping through it because this means game over, basically, 100%. I get another rev idea. I can... Yeah, the only thing I can do now... maybe I actually should resign, but I can still hope that Genghis destroys one of those. He prefers to war one of those over me for some reason, and then I might end up third. So I continue, and I think that's reasonable. There's another attempt. He again knows that I can defend, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. At least this time Genghis has no aggression to follow up. He does have a lack of military actions actually, and interestingly doesn't decide to go for fundamentalism. He at this point goes for a civil route, and I think that also looks super winning. It's kind of sad to see for me because my hope was that he destroys someone else, but as we see, this looks super winning. And I think it's only possible because of his 6 rocks that he got aggressing me, so yeah. I finally am able to get movies out. Sadly, I have not been able to get one copy of Military Theory. That would have been, if I got that earlier, that would have been very good for me. I still go for fundamentalism. If you have no science income, you can not lose science income. Next level. I make sure that I can defend. I'm even strongest here. Might win some impact of strength here. Would be funny. Impact of agriculture revealed. More bread and circuses. That's, yeah, Mandela does a lot of work here. First of Dower goes for a military alliance with Genghis. Does have nothing better to do with his political phase somehow. Was not able to try an aggression on me. He was pretty sad about that, I guess. And prepares to build United Nations. Genghis goes for democracy, can get stronger. Refugees revealed. I did not lose that. Pretty big achievement here. What did I do? I built a cannon. Oh yeah, that's basically the best I can do strength-wise. Take Mac Egg away from people. Just fewer technologies for others to develop, I guess. But yeah, it's all pretty meaningless, sadly. And there's Ravages of Time. It's also kind of meaningless. Freedom of movement. Impact of architecture. And Genghis can be or get strongest thanks to the military alliance. And I can even get stronger. So finally, I will be able to win a possible impact of strength. And here we are. As I said, it looks like Genghis is winning. He's winning all the impacts, basically. Our civilization is just set up way better than everyone else's for winning impacts. But First of all, as I said, he had a good chance of winning the game. And I'm 100% certain that he king made Genghis with trying aggressing me. I was I was contemplating doing these videos, but because there were obviously some frustrating situations, also involving my own decision making, and that's even worse than having to look at bad or possibly bad plays, because maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you guys can find some good reasons for him to arrest me there. But I'm quite convinced that it was a king-making move for Genghis, and obviously not intentional, but that's what happened. Because I think he had a good chance of winning the game. He had a good chance. Now they are competing for second place. I'm out of the equation, and Genghis wins. Government revealed. And harmony revealed. It's, as we see, it's super close here. Actually, it's still close, but their strength. First of all, gifted that to Genghis with his military alliance. Impact of competition. It's super strong, super close here. And impact of culture. Fist of Tao does manage to win the second place. And yeah, as I said, I'm pretty certain it could have been a contender for first place. That's the end result. Yeah, regarding my own performance, obviously there's always some minor things that could be different. I tried to spot them during the replay. But I do think there was not a lot to do in this game. Not a lot to improve. Yeah. I don't know. Some minor decisions you can gladly spot them out to me. Maybe I missed something. I did try to see them myself. The iconoclasm did hurt me a lot, especially that it's revealed so early. But I think I had a good reason to see it. And early on, yeah, having this rifleman would have helped a lot, but I think I had good reasons to go for the alchemy. And maybe some minor decisions with taking cards instead of upgrading stuff. Maybe that would have made a difference that I wasn't too aware of, but I think I found reasons for all of them, for the breakthrough instead of upgrading alchemy, then for taking Revadir instead of upgrading food, although that's a close decision. And maybe I shouldn't go for Republic, but I think also that was correct. Obviously, I would have preferred to go for something else, but yeah, I needed those civil actions. It's kind of rough, yeah. I think if he accepts the peace treaty, actually, there's a good chance that he wins the game and I might end up third or something. There is a chance for that, I think. But it is what it is. Feels rough, such a game in a world championship. And yeah, gladly point out some misplays that I haven't noticed from myself. Gladly point out good reasons for First of Tower for going for this aggression. Maybe there's something I'm missing. And yeah, that's the first game. Obviously, not a good start into this stage, but yeah, let's see how the other games develop. It's only one game played yet. Sadly, my I think strongest contender in the game in the group, the Genghis, wins the game, so it's a very good position for him. Let's see how the rest of the games goes. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the next one.